Hello, everybody. I'm Jeana. Welcome to NCL Thursday Night Live. It is my pleasure to introduce you to our other player ambassador who have yet to meet. This is WebWitch. She's going to tell you a
Hello.
bit about herself, and then we're going to get into a quick coaching session.
Oh, Dr. Roberta, thank you for the compliment on the hat. I figured I would really just lean into the aesthetic that I've created here. So a little bit about myself and my NCL journey. I actually was randomly suggested the NCL by a professor. He had no idea what it was really about. He knew he had a student participated in like a couple years prior and was like, I know you're interested in that cybersecurity stuff. You should try this out. And me and a bunch of other people who also had no idea what they were doing got together and just blundered our way through the first thing. It was rough, but we all learned a lot from it. And after that, we all kind of joined together and created essentially what is the only form of cybersecurity education at our university, and created this club in which we had, built our own kind of curriculum based off of what we had seen in the NCL. And now I'm employed in the field. So, thank goodness for that. And that's kind of how I started, with just an interest, but no real knowledge. And the NCL gave me what I needed.
Nice. So tonight's show, whatever time it is for you, because it's 8 o'clock for me and it's 5 o'clock for Fee here. So,
Yeah, it's probably, we could safely say afternoon, right?
I think so. I don't think it's morning anywhere. Okay, so today's show is all about log analysis, and if you've heard my story, you know I don't like log analysis, so Fee's taking this one. So what are your, I don't know, top three, like, this is what you gotta know?
Oh boy.
More than three, however many it is.
Well, I know that Kate, when she was starting out with log analysis, she didn't know how to use the Linux command line, so she used a lot of like Excel.
Yep.
My biggest thing for log analysis is you really have to learn how to use the Linux command line. I know it seems super scary for some people because there's a lot to learn, and you always think like if you type in the wrong command, you're gonna delete your whole operating system. I can tell you that's not true unless you're unless you've done something really horrible or someone has given you something that's definitely not what you want. But once you learn a few basic commands, a lot of the functionality becomes really easy and the process becomes a lot smoother instead of you trying to figure out what like Excel columns you need to sort by and whatnot.
Yeah, Excel's rough because that was the only way I did it for at the very least my very first season, possibly my second season too. Log
Oof.
analysis is not my friend. It's funny though, my best season for log analysis was my first season because I spent hours sifting through an Excel sheet. And then after that I was like, nope, not doing that again. And
That makes sense.
I'm not that good at Linux command lines. I try every season. It depends on the challenge. Like log analysis, I tried so hard my last season, it just didn't happen. Some people are better at Linux command lines than other people.
Well, I do have a write-up as a blog post on Kate's blog, which you could definitely look at.
Mm.
Josh Prom, absolutely not. That will delete all of the files on your system. Yeah, Josh has the pro strats, sure. So
don't delete all your files. Bad idea.
Don't delete all your files. It's a bad idea.
Like a backup hard drive with everything on it already. Don't do it.
You did?
Oh no. Okay. I've never done that. But if you like, I do keep a backup hard drive of all my files because I've had computers with a virus in the past and it isn't fun.
Oh yeah.
So
command line. There's some really basic commands that I did outline in the blog post, and I can go over here. The first one that you need to know, though it seems sort of redundant, is cat, which is essentially a command that will print out everything in a log file to your terminal. And that doesn't sound very useful, but to be able to sort through anything in a log file, you're going to have to be able to input it as text to the next command that you want to use to sort with it. And unless you want to try and do that by hand or copy and paste that in every time, you're going to want to use cat to take all of that input and or take all of the text in a file, turn it into output, and then pipe it using the pipe, which is the vertical bar that's like in the top right hand corner of your keyboard, like right above the enter key. That will pipe it into a different command. And you can essentially use pipes to keep taking the output of different commands and shoving them into another one, and you can use those as different filters to get the information that you need.
That much I did know.
Well, that's good. But the more important like pattern matching stuff you do with grep. It's basically a really easy way. It's like if you used Control F in like a visual file. And it has some different things that you can add to it to make it a little bit more powerful. Normally, if you just type in a word, it will try and find that word in the piece of text to the exact case that you have typed it in. So if you typed in, for example, connect in all caps, then it would search for connect in all caps within that log file. So if you need it to find something, like for example, let's say the question is how many people have uploaded data to this server, and you're like, okay, I don't exactly know how this log necessarily deals with uploads. It's probably going to say something that along the lines of upload or load. So you can search for if you use grep, and then you can pass in the -I flag to ignore case, because maybe it's in all caps, maybe it's like camel cased, so like the first letter is capitalized, or maybe it's all lowercase. You can pass in the -I flag to make sure that it ignores the case of anything you type in, and then you can use upload, and then it will return all the lines that have the letters upload in whatever case that they appear.
Okay, we're getting some questions in here. Let's see if we can do this. So, let's see. So someone asked, how about bash scripting? I'm quite proficient with in this language. So let's say, start answering. And any advice on that? How about bash scripting? I'm quite proficient within this language.
I personally, like if you're talking about bash scripting in the sense of like writing bash scripts into files and then running those on files, I'm gonna be real with you, never did that. I've put some really nasty like one-liners together to get all the information that I needed, and honestly, it's worked really well. And to be fair, didn't learn outside of that. Probably should have done that, but I haven't done that yet. So that's something that I want to do, but haven't done yet.
Okay. So
assembly.
Let's see. So David McKee asks, is Python overkill or not quite a good tool to use?
I haven't personally used Python. It may be a bit of overkill, because every single time you need something just like vaguely different, you're gonna have to completely alter whatever Python script you're using. Whereas Bash is very powerful, and you can just pass in little flags to change what you're searching for. Like if you were to try and find like a piece of text within Python, like, and you wanted every line that had, let's go with upload again, you would have to change the script completely depending on if you wanted it to find all, like, you would have to like lowercase all of the input, and like then Python is a great hacking tool like in general, but like for this specific instance, I might be a little bit of overkill, especially if you have a Kali instance at your fingertips. You have a lot more power just creating these little one-liners. I always like write them down and like store them for later, because I've always found like very specific one-liners to be useful in like many different cases, and you just change a little bit of things. But like, I would say Bash one-liners for this case specifically are probably going to serve you better than a full like Python script.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. So, what is so actually, let's see. One thing that I always had a problem with was kind of figuring out what was in each column. So you'll see like random numbers and you're like, well, what is that? Any advice for that?
It really is a process of definitely a process of elimination, because and also and also paying really close attention to the question that is being asked and in what context it is being asked. So for example, if someone is looking at a file that is the log of an FTP server, and it's like, and it's asking questions, and it's like, oh, well, what IP address, or how many IP addresses, you know what an IP address is. I'm trying to think of other numbers, but like user IDs, perhaps. There's like certain pieces of information, even though they're not labeled, that you're probably going to find like in an FTP file, like the IP address of the connecting thing, like maybe what port they were connecting on, although that might be the same for each instance, so it doesn't log that. Or I can't think of everything off the top of my head, but like if you think of the context in which it is being talked about, like there was once, which I think was the worst log question that was ever asked, had to do with airplane control traffic, which was wild. And also,
I remember the challenge you're talking about.
it was a complete mess. I did not do very well on that challenge because it was one of my like first years. But one of the things that I did realize was, because we were working with air traffic control data, I was like, okay, well, what would they probably have in there? Well, they'd probably have some kind of like location coordinates. So I figured out which ones those were. And then there was like, oh, this must be the plane ID. This must be the plane like type. And after looking through each like a couple of individual like entries, you can kind of get an idea of what they're talking about, because you're looking at these different patterns, and you're like looking at what changes between different entries, looking at what doesn't change, seeing what things pop up more often than others can give you some idea as to what that data is. But you're not necessarily always going to find a thing online that explains to you, one for one, what each of these like different columns is for. And I think that's one of the most frustrating things about log analysis, is because if you don't, especially in these challenges where you're just given something and you kind of have to guess, there's a lot of trial and error, and that's just sometimes how it goes. People who get 100% on log analysis, I am genuinely afraid of.
They're wizards, and that's all
Well,
I have to say about that.
they're
There
obviously
was
not.
one person on my team who, like, that was his thing, and I was like, what? What? Like, he got, I think when we did teams, he got everything in log analysis in, like, 2 hours. It was like, excuse me? Like,
Wild.
everything. I was mind blown. Like, completely in shock. So, some people are just weirdly good at log analysis.
Yeah, some people, it's just really their forte.
Kill your accuracy so hard.
That is true.
Error.
Wait, hold on. I want to tell just one thing. I don't know. We had one person at our university who had never done the competition before, did get 100% in log analysis, but used R.
What does that mean?
Like the programming language R to do all of his log analysis. I don't know how he did it.
I don't even know how to code it R.
It was weird. We don't really understand what happened or how he did it, but he did it, and he did it well. Yeah, it was like R or something.
Look, everybody's so shocked.
Yeah, no, me too. Or it was either R or it was some other language that should not have been anywhere near the NCL, and yet he used it. And he was also playing on a Chromebook. What?
I could barely play on my own laptop, and he was playing on a Chromebook.
Yep, we had to somehow we spent several days trying to figure out how to dual boot Kali on his Chromebook. It was wild. What? Yeah. And then he never participated again. And that was the only thing he did. He 100% did log analysis, did nothing else, and then left.
What? So Kate just commented that she hasn't used anything other than Excel, and she's done pretty well. I gotta say, like, same-ish. Like, Excel was my friend at first because you've gotta have the most ridiculous amount of patience to sift through log analysis in Excel, which, like, after the first season, I used all of my patience for Excel and log analysis in the whole first season. And then I said, nope, I won't do that ever again. I mean, I've done it, but I will never spend that many hours doing it again. I spent the
Honestly,
whole
that's
Sunday,
fair.
I think I spent the whole Sunday of my first season doing one log analysis challenge or like 2 log analysis challenges, just sifting through so many things that I probably, if I looked at it now, might understand, but probably still wouldn't. It happens.
Yeah,
So,
it's rough. It takes a lot of time. But once you get more experience with it, it becomes easier every single time you interact with it, which is what I found and what I'm sure people who have done this, who like people like you and Kate have. More you do it, the more you learn. So
yeah,
really all
definitely.
I can say to that.
So there was a question in the comments.
There's many questions in the comments.
There's so many questions. So I think Dr. Alberto asked a good question, so we'll post that as a question.
Where is it?
Can you give us some specific Linux Kali commands that he can share with his students? Let me just.
Yes, I can. All of it is, well, instead of me going over it again, it's all laid out in that blog post, and it's a lot easier than me trying to explain it because I have both command examples and output examples, so you can get an idea of what you would be looking at as output, because that's one of the things that I find people don't necessarily put in explanations is what should the output look like, because sometimes you'll enter a command and you'll be like, is this right? I can't tell. I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking at, but I have the examples of the commands, how you can use them, ways you can alter them for your uses, and the little example outputs so you can get an idea of what you should be looking at.
Mm-hmm. That blog post is definitely a great resource for log analysis because there really aren't very many out there. So,
yeah, it's really underappreciated. Like,
it really is.
Like when companies like find breaches in their system, it's because some of the ways that they find it is because they're going through the logs and they're finding these aberrations like in their network traffic or like in like file exfiltration or stuff like that. Like it's essentially like you have to Sherlock your way through what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So
that happens with a lot of challenges.
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. I'd say
your way through it.
What's the other one? It's it's like wireless traffic. I can't remember the exact name. It's like web traffic analysis
traffic?
Yeah,
it's access.
No, it's not wireless access exploitation, because that's when you can just crack things. It's the one where you got I should know the names of everything off the top of my head, but I just had a day at work and I had to like book it back home to get everything set up. So
it happens.
It happens.
Okay, let's
Network
see.
traffic analysis. Yes. Thank you, everyone in the comments. You are correct. It's network traffic analysis.
Thank you, John and Dr. Roberto. So I see everybody asking if we can go through specific challenges. I don't think we can really do that because, Cyber Skyline puts a big X on everything they do. So
Yeah.
Because log analysis is those are definitely some of the challenges that they like to reuse. So we can't really go through specific challenges just because those are kind of the restrictions we have. But
I have examples on
there
that
are
blog post again. There's an example file.
If you guys want, I can share my screen and we can look through some of the blog together.
That would be great, and I can walk you through some of it.
Yes. So share. I don't know how this is gonna go, but
Is there a log analysis challenge in the gymnasium this year? I can't actually speak to that, though I am an ambassador for this wonderful organization.
Oh wait, so with the gymnasium, there's all the challenges are in all the challenge topics rather are in the gymnasium. They're never gonna leave something out and then put it in the season. That's definitely not gonna happen. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but
Oh,
can you guys see it?
No, we see a little Firefox symbol. We see it. I think we see your search bar, or not the search bar, but like.
I don't know what you can see. Oh. Oh boy. Okay. We've never done this before on here. I see us in the corner. You guys can just see this thing. I see what happened. Interesting. Oh boy. Okay, we're gonna let me try that again.
Okay.
Give me a second. I think I figured it out. Because there's like this little thing at the top. It's only showing this like top box on the screen for some reason. Let's try that again.
It's the exciting.
Oh, I see what happened. I clicked Firefox sharing indicator instead of entire screen. Allow, and then we're gonna hop on over here. Now,
look at that! There it is.
Yay. Okay, my mouse is blinking a lot. So tell me where to scroll. I can't be in both things at the same time. So
that's fair. Okay, so if you scroll down, this top. It's called a. Hold on. This top box. The top box has an example of like the overview. So if you don't want to have to go through the entire blog post to find what you're looking for, this is the command, the use, and the examples with common flags. All of this has gone over in the blog post, but if you don't want to like shuffle through, it's right there. So if you scroll down,
tell me
this is generally what the format looks like. You'll see in the little blue boxes, there's the examples of the commands and the output, or something that if you use the example file that's linked, that's what you should see. Scroll down a little bit more. And after awk and sort and unique, there are, well, first the practice questions, which if you click on this document, it'll take you to a Google form that allows you to answer the questions below. And this document is the document itself, and the answer your questions here is the Google form where you can try out answering, getting the answers to the questions. Like it's not a Google form; it's a Google like quiz or something.
This one? Oh,
yeah.
Well, I'm opening this anyway.
Yep, that's a document.
Nope, hey, we're not opening this. Y'all can do this on your
It's
own.
not very exciting. And then try out your answers here is the Google quiz.
A Google form. Yeah. Nice.
Yep.
So, yeah, and then you'll test them in there. And question, does that give you the correct answers right when you click submit?
I have to be honest. CryptoKate did set this up for me.
Okay.
So I can't necessarily answer those questions, but I do think it gives you. I do think it gives you live feedback.
Email you.
Or we'll email you. One of the two.
We'll see. If you guys want to do it, and let us know, because we don't, apparently.
What happens when you're juggling this and a job. God bless Kate for all that she does.
Okay. It's just a quick little... I'm not gonna open the log file because I don't think my laptop can handle all of this right now.
It's not too big. It's like... okay, Kate just said it does give you confirmation if you are correct. So definitely do that if you're looking for some practice before the gymnasium opens. That'll definitely be helpful. Does anybody have any other super specific log analysis questions that aren't show us the challenges? Yeah.
because unfortunately we can't, other than that small little example on the blog. And actually, Fee, if you want to do a quick rundown of what that log file is, since I'm not going to open it, of what kind of data is in there.
Oh, so what kind of data is in there is, from what I understand, the reason why I kept using the FTP server as an example is
FTP.
From what I understand, it's essentially an FTP log, and it'll tell you what people are trying to connect with, people are trying to log in, and maybe some other things, but I'm not going to spoil the questions. But yes, so that's essentially what you're going to find in the file. Part of the whole thing is to take this example file and start, doing some of that process of elimination, trying to figure out which each of the fields is. So I'm not going to fully explain the format because that's part of learning.
Yes. But give you the answers. That's not what we do. We're coaching and we're giving you the tools to understand what you're looking at, but don't expect us, if you ask us a question, don't expect us to outright give you the answer. Just a heads up, which we remind you guys every week that we won't do that. So, let's see. So Dr. Retro said he had a student use Notepad++, and that was helpful. I have used Notepad++ for log analysis questions before as well, and it definitely works to an extent. So it does a pretty good job of organizing it. Sometimes you gotta, actually what I've done before is I'll put it in Notepad++ and then I'll throw it in an Excel sheet because it stays slightly more organized. I don't know if anybody else has used an Excel sheet for log analysis other than Kate and myself, but sometimes if you copy the log file and put it on the Excel sheet from the Skyline platform, it'll just be one line and you're just like, well, that isn't helpful.
Time to die.
Yep. But yeah, so it does. Notepad++ is definitely a good tool, and don't use regular Notepad because that won't do anything for you.
Yeah. Oop,
okay.
Got hat hair now.
It's fine. Let's see. So everybody is kind of just giving each other suggestions. I love to see that. Let's see. Does anybody else have any other questions? Do you have any more tips, Fee?
What else? I think honestly that's a good portion of it. It's not straightforward.
Yeah, it's not straightforward enough that you can give the same tips for every single log analysis challenge. That's the one.
Yeah,
that's the one.
Of the big thing. Yeah, the big thing to keep in mind is that literally all not all logs, but a good portion of logs all just look different, and you will never you'll never run into especially in the NCL, you'll never run into the same log twice, or you'll never, at least during one season.
Oh yeah, during one season you'll run into similar stuff between seasons, but you'll from season to season. But there's always going to be something that changed. So if you're like me, you save everything and you save all your answers and you save all the questions, but there's always something, the numbers have changed, something has changed, and that is how they get you.
Yep.
So definitely before you were like, oh, I've seen this before, I'm going to throw the same answers in there, actually look at everything, because something has probably changed.
Yeah, that's one of the downfalls that can happen. You get a little too cocky, and that's why not log analysis tanks your accuracy, because after a certain point you think, oh, I know all of this. This is fine. And then you you filter through the information and you think you've got it down pat. And then they get you with some very specific piece of info, like very specific way they worded the question that you didn't catch on to. Really slow down. The thing that will really mess you up with log analysis is if you try to speed through it. So even though the NCL,
that problem before.
even though the NCL is kind of a very speedy challenge because it's over like 3 days, if you want to do this well, you gotta slow down.
So, Jeana Kramer actually just said like how to really use Excel, and that's exactly what I used to do. Just copy and pasting text to columns, delimit the whole thing. Everything she just said. If you're really looking to use Excel, that's the way to do it. And I think there's a link on this log analysis blog to an old one that Kate did talking about how to use Excel in log analysis. So here, this is one. If I'm gonna just put this in here. This is if you're not ready to use command line, definitely take a look at this. If you're still feeling a little kind of shaky on it. So I think that'll definitely be a good little thing. I think Kate actually just kind of put this one out so everybody would know.
Yep.
Some extra little tips. Everything is helpful, even if Excel is a pain sometimes. Anything you can do to get the answers, just do it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'll condone that.
There were definitely, this isn't log analysis, but there were definitely challenges that I did by hand when I maybe could have scripted it instead, just because I was like, I don't know how to do that yet, but I do want the answer. So
Yeah.
patience, persistence.
You definitely need to go in to log analysis expecting it to take an eternity. Don't expect log analysis to take you 5 minutes and you'll be done. Maybe you're that good at log analysis and it will, but don't go in with that expectation because you will disappoint yourself, and that's not what we want.
Yeah, John makes a good point. A lot of questions about counting and finding unique entries. There was one challenge where we had to go through and we had to find the one singular aberrant entry where people were trying to connect and they all looked the same. They all looked the same.
Couldn't get the answer.
Figure out what was it was an IP from Europe. One singular entry with an IP from Europe.
I would never catch that ever. It
had to do with time zones and things. But leading into your mind's like natural pattern recognition like abilities is actually really good for this, because if you see something and you're like, that looks off, like that looks weird in comparison to everything else, you've probably hit something that you should pay attention to. Even if it's not for this question, it's probably for a different question. So
So John has a lot of good advice in here. John, if you would like to come on, we can do that, because you seem to have maybe some advice that we don't have. So
yes.
I'm gonna add you in.
And also, Jennifer asks, are you aware of any sites that have log files to practice on? I don't have any, unfortunately. Logs are not really something that you're going to find a ton of like out in the wild, I don't think. But does anyone in the chat have any suggestions? I personally haven't run into any, but I'm not like the end all be all of log analysis, and I'm not going to pretend to be. If anyone has resources in the chat, throw them in there.
Yes,
always happy for that.
Resources you guys have, throw them in the chat, because you'll be able to come back to this later and take a look at it. I don't know if John's muted. I don't know if he wanted to come on in or what's happening. Oh,
says he's on screen.
It's disconnected now. I don't know what's happening. Yeah, so John posted Glog. I've never actually used that, so I cannot speak on it. But if John suggested it, it's probably good. Just that's a pretty good strategy. If John suggested something, go for it. Oh well, I guess John's gone.
He was there. He was connected.
He was, and then something happened. He disconnected. Bad Wi-Fi, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, one of us is always struggling with Wi-Fi, depending on the week. Oh,
wait, back? Hold on.
He's back. He's back.
I'm back.
He's there.
Am I on?
We can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a start.
cannot see.
Oh, and
Oh, we got a disconnection here.
he's gone again.
Uh-oh.
Please, sir, can I have some connection?
Yeah, no, that was me last week. I wasn't completely disconnecting, but apparently I was blurry the whole time. There was a thunderstorm rolling through last week's live show.
Well,
About half an hour after the live show ended was like the loudest thunderstorm you've ever heard.
well,
New York has had some weather this summer.
yeah,
I think.
weather's been rough recently.
Yeah, it has. I think we've got John back.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with my video right now, but
Well, we can hear you. That's all that matters.
yes, I've mentioned Glog a couple times, and what it is it's really basic. It just allows you to. So when you go in Excel, usually what you'll do is you'll find a delimiter, and then you'll split your columns on that delimiter, right? So it could be a space, or it depends on how they set up the log. What Glog does is it automatically finds those limiters or delimiters for you and lets you kind of cut and paste those logs out of there. Then you can use like regular expressions to kind of filter through all those logs. So that's why I like Glog.
I see.
Nice.
Cool.
Maybe you should have your own little post about that.
What?
Yeah, I didn't mean to hijack your conversation.
No.
Oh, no.
You have better tips than
More
we
the
do,
merrier.
so it's fine. Anything else, John? Anything else you can suggest?
Well, definitely learning how to chain those command lines together, like use, awk and sed, which I'm horrible at, by the way, but I'm learning, in combination with gret and word count and, some of those other ones are unique. I think you mentioned before, using that pipe to pipe one to another to another. Another thing I like to do is I use grep, but I use it to a -I in order to trim things that I don't want to see. So,
do you mean -V?
Sorry, -V, yeah.
Yep.
-V to trim things out that I don't want in my query string. So sometimes kind of working backward to forward instead of forward to back works better for me.
Yeah, that's. I didn't go over that here, but I did. I did end up writing about that because that is, as you said, very useful. Because sometimes you know what you really don't need, but you don't know what you do need because they're not super clear about it.
Right. And, I also encourage, definitely in team play, I think I mentioned this before, but, have someone else, do the challenge separately and see what answer they get. And then if you get the same answer, then it's probably a good bet that it's correct. But when we did that, we found that our accuracy was close to 90 something percent in,
nice.
log analysis, which that's
Yeah.
kind of difficult.
I think my accuracy on log analysis last season might have been in the 30s.
It can get brutal sometimes. And
it can get really brutal, especially for me, because I'm so stubborn that I will try and try and try until finally nothing works and I stop trying.
But what I kind of
think-
want to invite people to do is, find those experienced players that are in your cyber clubs, find
Yeah.
people that have done, this before and have them kind of, run like a little mini workshop on this kind of stuff, because this is going to be one of the categories and it's going to have a significant amount of points in it already. So rather than kind of shying away from it or just kind of they'll figure it out, I would actually kind of dedicate some time to learning this, because most people, when they get started in cybersecurity, are going to get started in a SOC position, an analyst type position, and you're going to be staring at a lot of logs. So you might as well take this opportunity to learn Splunk, to learn Glog, to learn your command line, cut and paste, that kind of stuff. Take the opportunity not just to get the points on the board and try to win the challenge, but to really kind of expand your skill set. And if you already have that skill set, use it to help the people in your group, because this is one of those. I think Kate said, that it's not her accuracy that tanks; it's usually her motivation, right? People will get really, really bogged down in log analysis, and I've seen before people just kind of walk away because they just couldn't get any points on it, and they just so take it in little chunks, walk away from it often. And if you have a question about whether it's right or wrong, it's probably wrong. Because usually when the question is, when you answer it, that you got it right. So Oh, that's a great link there for top 15 Linux log tools.
Yeah, Curtis
Uh,
posted this right here.
yeah, that's a great link. I appreciate the share on that.
So.
Well, thank you for the very good advice.
Yes, thank you.
Especially with that stuff about the team games. Like I hadn't thought about that before. And
Even
teams were always a little.
So what I find in
games,
teams especially, and this is because I think there's kind of a uniqueness to us being in this hacking type community in that we often get people that are less social. And so everyone attacks these team problems from an individual point of view, which is great. I mean, you could have several, people running in the same race and they'll all get there. But to kind of tie that together, what we usually do is we have like a partner, and so rather than me being assigned to do network traffic analysis, which most teams, this will be their default approach is, hey, you're really good at steganography. You do the steganography. Rather than being tempted to do that, especially in team game, find someone to team up with and kind of work with them. That way you're strengthening each other. And I definitely think in log analysis that is a winning strategy.
Definitely, I have to agree because we did that with our team too. So we would do the kind of that like assign thing when we had bigger teams, just to kind of be able to organize everybody. But we would always make sure that at least two people were working on the same challenges. 'Cause also a way to kind of verify that the answers are correct, because we wouldn't submit unless two people had the same answer and we knew it was definitely right.
Well, and I think another advantage to that is you're going to get players on your team. This is their first competition. You don't
Mhm.
want it to be their last competition, right? And if they jump in and they feel like they're just not effective and they don't know anything, it can actually be somewhat of a demoralizing kind of experience for them. And to kind of avoid that or lessen that, I definitely think having some coaches or some mentors around that can run some challenges with them in the gymnasium, where it's nice and legal, and kind of get some of that practice out of the way. I think that'll pay off in the end for sure. And you don't get as much people just getting burn out, spin out, and flame out, right?
And you mentioned before, if you have somebody on your team that's really good at log analysis, make sure they're teaching everybody. That's what we did on my team. I had one kid that was really good with command line stuff, and I was like, if you could do a lesson on this, that would be great, because you're way more skilled at it than I am, and I don't want everyone to suffer on log analysis because I don't know what I'm doing, because that's not fair to my players. So
Yeah.
like, find someone that is good at it and have them be your teacher for that practice. And with these coaching sessions, we're actually going in kind of somewhat of the order that we would normally coach in. This week, we're deviating a little. Usually, we would go open source and then go into crypto and then log analysis. But Kate is currently traveling, and she, of course, you can't do crypto without Crypto Kate. So
That is
did
true.
flip the switch a little this week. So normally our order would be open source, crypto, and then log analysis. But just keep in mind that this week and next week are flipped. So when you are, going to make your coaching schedule for when your semester starts, a lot of you are probably starting this week. Keep in mind we usually do open source, crypto, and then log analysis. But I think that might be the only deviation. We might have one more switch a little later in a few weeks, but it might be password cracking and wireless access. I'm not sure. Actually, I think it's password cracking and scanning if you guys see our full schedule for the live shows. But I mean, some of them, like, it really doesn't matter what order you do it in. But for those kind of, after like log analysis, everything is sort of on the same level of difficulty, at least in my opinion. It's all kind of like higher skill level ish. I don't know if
I see what you mean. Like I think definitely people get a lot of speed, going into doing open source intelligence, and then they kind of hit cryptography, and they can Google a lot, and it's kind of fun to poke and prod until you get the right answer. And then when they hit log analysis or network traffic analysis,
these are some tools you need. Like with open source, there aren't really tools you need. With crypto, there's like a website you can use, but it's not necessarily like a full tool you need. You know what I mean? But with with these ones, there's the tools that you really have to understand in order to use them. Like,
Yeah.
like with crypto, we'll probably talk about Rumpkin next week. You don't necessarily.
Oh, one of my favorite sites.
Oh, it's all of our favorite site. You don't necessarily need to fully understand how to use Rumpkin or fully understand cryptography to use Rumpkin. Like, you can kind of just jump into it and plug things in until you get something. But with everything else, it's kind of, okay, you really got to understand how to use this tool if you want to kind of know everything. So that's kind of why we go in the order we do. You kind of go from like low skill level, a little bit higher, and then kind of like everything else is kind of in your face. Okay, this is harder than everything else before that. So,
Right.
Like WebShark.
Yeah,
Oof.
exactly. That's
Yeah, Wireshark's a struggle.
Yeah, Wireshark or
There were
WebShark
some
either one.
things. There were some things that I only learned with Wireshark a last year.
Oh yeah.
Like during the NCL competition at the Women's Cybersecurity Conference, there were things that I learned on the spot
Oh,
that I
there were
had
things
never
that
run
you
into
were
before.
teaching me while we were sitting there. I mean,
I'm always surprised when someone pulls out the T-Shark one-liner too, and I'm like, wow, that took me half an hour of crawling through using, Wireshark, and you just
Yep.
did it in T-Shark in like one command line,
Yeah, they're like all of us are still learning bits and pieces, and boy, does it.
That's the thing about this. You're always learning. You're never gonna be like, okay, I've hit my like peak. I will never learn anything from this again. There's always gonna be something you didn't realize that you didn't know. So,
To quote a video game
let's close
character,
the door.
a true master is an eternal student.
Yes.
If anyone can tell me where that's from,
I don't know.
anyone in the chat, come on, I believe in y'all. The one game that I play just religiously. It's the only game I own. But
Dave wants to know which game.
well, now you got to guess.
We just told you we don't tell you the answers. Source it, man.
What is everyone's degree? I have a major in I have a major in CS and then minors in classical studies and politics.
I have a BS in computer science.
I have a bachelor's in IT. I'm working on my master's in information systems management with a focus in cybersecurity.
Bryce got it.
Good job.
Play a lot of League. Play too much League. But that's fine. It's the only game I could get downloaded and running on my computer because like everything on Steam that I wanted to play is like Windows only. So I was like, well, I have a Mac. Guess it's League. I can see why you guys do not know Wireshark. I mean, like, buddy.
Doesn't quite teach you Wireshark. I did actually take a networking class, and we did Wireshark a little. It didn't do much, but
yeah, we didn't actually have any kind of cybersecurity classes at my university. I
just wasn't. Wasn't.
I am completely self-taught, and then became the educator for one of the educators for everyone else who was interested in the topic at my university. Yeah, I learned Wireshark on the fly, dude. It was rough.
Wireshark is so rough. I can definitely say I learned more as I went, though, because like first season with Wireshark, I was like, don't know what it is, don't like it, don't understand it, and then as you go, you learn, and kind of just how it goes.
I had a SOC analyst job, so yeah, Wireshark is kind of necessary.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things I remember about Wireshark is specifically when we had that one challenge where it was you had to reconstruct a telephone call.
Oh yeah, the VoIP
from the packets. Yeah, the VoIP.
Couldn't do it. It was bad.
It was hard.
So Dr. Roberto just posted a good question. Is there any great 1 to 2 day seminars in Wireshark? Yes, there are. And actually, I'm going to be doing the portion on Wireshark. That's me. So I'll make sure I get that in my links. But there are some 1 to 2 day little workshops. There's some webinars. I have some links for some basic YouTube videos that a crash course in Wireshark. And then I've got my own kind of I'll show you how I set up my desktop. my Wireshark, because I put the columns in different orders and it makes it a readability a lot easier for me. So there's a lot of tips and tricks that hopefully I'll get a chance to get into when we get to that network traffic analysis
If you
part.
guys are super interested in the network traffic analysis, that's going to be in 3 weeks. That is on, I think it was September 19th. I already forgot. I just looked.
Yes, it is September 19th.
September 19th. So
I know because I'm hosting it.
Right. Because you don't want me to host that. I got no tips.
I have like a handful, and if I really wanted to give more tips, I'd have to go back into the Kali instance I was using for my thesis.
Oh boy.
I haven't opened that in months.
Oh, if anybody would like to pay just $9 for a Wireshark training program,
One of
Curtis,
those,
That's not bad at all.
one of those $9.99 Udemy courses. Yeah, I've got a few of those actually.
Cool. So,
Well,
I think if nobody has any more log
$10 is cheaper than a textbook, I'll be honest, and there's some really good stuff out there on Udemy. So
it should be illegal, the price of textbooks, I swear.
honestly.
Since my first day of college, the price of textbooks should not be allowed. I'm already in debt. Why? Why are you doing this to me? I'm glad I graduated. All I gotta say, I don't gotta buy another textbook ever again.
For Matt and also some of the other ones that are talking about, Udemy. If you're not familiar with Cybrary also has some really good video series that you can go through, and I believe one of them is on Wireshark, and that's a free resource.
Nice.
You got a link for that.
For Cybrary? Yeah,
I got it.
Oh, okay.
I got it.
I think it's just cybrary.it, but yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Perfect.
Now anybody wants it. So,
All right, perfect.
Some good resources. If nobody has any other specific log analysis questions, I'll give you guys a couple more minutes, but we're nearing an hour here. So, I'm sure you guys all have other things you have to do, because I know I do.
Yeah, I also have. I have a test to prep for that's in the next hour or two.
Oh, you have a class after this, don't you?
I do.
Oh boy.
It's fine. Always learning. That's the point, right? Always learning.
Thanks for having me on. I think I'm going to go ahead and sign out.
Thank you, John.
All right. Well, talk to you later.
I think if anybody else, I'm going to say final calls for questions. I'll give you a minute. I think everybody's good. So I think this is where we say goodbye. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. I hope everybody learned a little something, because I know I did. And we will be back next week. At least Kate and I will be back next week to teach you guys a little bit of crypto. I'm excited for that. I hope you guys are too. So thank you, everybody. If you guys still have more questions, please ask them in the Ask the Question. And we'll try to take a look at them through the week. We all kind of have jobs and stuff, so we don't necessarily get a chance to look at everything through the week, but we will definitely do our best. And if you guys have more questions, I'm going to put our Twitter handles.
Yes.
If you want to put yours in there, Fee.
I have to remember if it has an underscore, right?
Yes. Can
you tell that I recently created everything?
It's okay. Yeah, so if you guys have more questions for myself or for Fee, you can ask us on Twitter. John's also on Twitter. He's blue_level_2. There he is.
There he is.
If you have more questions for us, feel free to reach out. You guys all know Kate's handle. I'll type it in here, but
I mean, if you don't know Kate, how did you find us? Can you send me John's email address? That would be a question for John.
I'm not gonna send you his email address, but if John would like to give you his email address, he absolutely can. Okay, that is it for us tonight, guys. Have a good one.
All right.